To the Development Review Commission. Tonight is March 11th, 2025. I'm Andy Johnson. The Development Review Commission is created to hold public meetings and hearings to provide analysis and recommendations to the City Council regarding general land use policies and applications where the Commission has recommendatory power, and to render final decisions on specified applications where the Commission has final decision-making power, including but not limited to all aspects of a proposed and future development. The Development Review Commission recognizes that the creation of a desirable environment throughout the city for residents, businesses, and industry is a prime requisite for the interdependence of land values, aesthetics, and good site planning by promoting harmonious, safe, attractive, and compatible development that is therefore considered to be in the best interest of the public health, safety, and general welfare. Any person aggrieved by a final decision of the Development Review Commission may file an appeal to the City Council within 14 calendar days after the Development Review Commission has rendered its decision. Development Review Commission recommendations to the City Council are not final decisions. Tonight with us on the Commission, to my right, we have Commissioner Stephen Richter, Commissioner Robert Miller, Commissioner Charles Redmond, and to my left, Commissioner Linda Spears and Commissioner Barbara Lloyd. Tonight with us from staff, we have Ryan Levesque, Michelle Dahlke, Karen Stovall, Robert Mansalio, Lucas Jensen, Whitney Mayfield, Alexander Bosworth, Joanna Berry, and Eddie Garcia. Anyone here wishing to speak on an item tonight will be given up to 3 minutes to speak, and we will be monitoring that, that time as it goes on. If you are here tonight to speak on an item, please fill out, and if you haven't already, please fill out one of these cards and bring it up to Ms. Berry, and she'll send them my way. To start, we will look at selection of items to be placed on our consent agenda. We had discussion in our study session to pull those from the regular meeting and have them on our consent. I will run through that list, and if there's anyone here wishing to speak on one of those items tonight, please get my attention, and we can pull that and hear it. The first item on consent agenda is item 3A, which is Friendship Village Courtyard Apartments Phase 3. Next item is item 4C, which is Silverman Carport Conversion. Item 4D, Lotus Massage. Item 4E, Shufford Residence. And item 4F, Schember Residence. Okay, seeing no one wishing to speak on those items, we will keep those on our consent agenda. First, though, I would like to get a motion for the Development Review Commission study session and regular meeting minutes of February 25th, 2025. Could I get a motion for that item, please? Commissioner Spears.
I move for the approval of minutes for 225 for the study and regular meeting.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second that motion.
And seconded by Commissioner Redmond. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, and that item passes unanimously. Those items passes unanimously. All right, so the first item on our regular, we need to do our consent agenda. Let's, can I get a motion for our consent agenda as I had read it?
So moved.
Thank you. Okay, that has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All right, and that passes unanimously. That was moved by Commissioner Spears and seconded by, moved by Commissioner Lloyd and seconded by Commissioner Spears. Unanimous approval. All right, so the first item that we will be hearing is Tempe 20 Townhomes. So if we can hear from the applicant, correct? Yes. If the applicant would please approach and present your case to us tonight. If you don't mind, please state your name and city of residence.
My name is Ashley Sams. I'm with Synectic Design, and I'm in Phoenix. I live in Phoenix.
Thank you.
So Tempe 20 Townhomes is at 966 East Guadalupe Road. We're looking to get this design through design review and also get a use permit to allow for a 6-foot fence and a 4-foot fence area. Sorry. Okay, so this is the site here. Just 20 townhomes, 2-story townhomes with garage, large dog park over to the west, and a recreation area to the east of that dog park. Site plan here, we are sharing a site with a current medical office. Let's see. So it is an existing, almost 2 vacant lot zoned for residential office. Each unit is like I said, a 2-car garage, powder room, kitchen, living space. And then through that shared easement, we are sharing circulation with that medical building. We do have ample on-site parking and bike stalls as well, along with that dog park and barbecue area. Some renders coming into this project. The mailbox and dog park area to the west. And then here's the large recreation area for the residents. Use permit will allow, like I said, for the 6-foot fence in lieu of a 4-foot fence. The proposed fence will be a 4-foot CMU wall with a 2-foot tall mesh panel above. So it is only solid for that 4 feet. It will allow for a more secure yard for that resident. Those residences along Guadalupe Road, since there is no perimeter fence at that location. It would encroach on that required 15 setback by 3 feet maximum. And then it will also provide the better level of security, like I said, while maintaining the open feeling. So this is the location outlined in red of the use permit. That location there, and as you can see, the 12.5 feet and then the 13.5 feet is the locations where it encroaches. And this is what it would look like from the street. Yeah, that was it.
Great. So, any questions from the commission? Okay, thank you for your presentation. We'll now hear from Manzanillo. Can you pronounce your name for me? I read it and I think I know how to say it, and then
Chair Johnson, it's Manzanillo.
Manzanillo.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Right, Chair Johnson, members of the commission. This is a use permit and development review plan case for a 6-foot wall in the front yard setback and a development review for a single-family residential townhouse development with 7 buildings, 2 stories each, and for a total of 20 residential dwelling units on 1.96 acres. And it is in the RO zoning district and is located at 966 East Guadalupe Road. So looking at the zoning map, it is zoned RO residential office, and this residential use is allowed as a use by right. And looking at the map to the right, it is currently vacant and has always been vacant. There has been some agricultural uses throughout the years, but it has mostly been a vacant lot. And here are some site photos, the way it currently looks. And then the bottom 4 are along Guadalupe Road. So here is a site plan. There are 3 building types. Building A is type 1, which is 6 units together along Guadalupe Road. Buildings B and C are type 2. Those would be 3 units together facing each other. And then buildings D, E, F, and G are building type 3, and those are on the northern portion of the property. And then on the northwest portion of the property is that dog park and Ramada Grill gathering area. And there are mailboxes in the central portion of the site itself. And access is off of Guadalupe Road. And here's the landscape plan. There will be trees and shrubs planted throughout the site. On Guadalupe, there'll be 10 trees. Those will be staggered along the sidewalk on either side of the sidewalk to give shade to those units and to pedestrians walking by. The dog park and the Ramada area will be surrounded by trees, elm and southern live oak. And that northern property line has 20 trees along it. And as you can see, there are 2 trees planted per townhouse building to mitigate any privacy concerns from the neighbors to the north. And those species are thornless mesquites and southern live oaks. And LE elms are surrounding the mailbox. And here's a floor plan. The units themselves are roughly the same, approximately 2,500 square feet over 2 floors. So the first floor is a garage, kitchen, living area, bathroom, and an outdoor patio. And the second floor has 3 bedrooms, a laundry area, 2 bathrooms, a small balcony off the master bedroom. So this would be building number 1, so this would be fronting along Guadalupe Road. And to the left is building 2, so these would be internal to the site. And then to the right are building type 3. These would border the north property line. And here are some elevations. The highest point here is 27 feet, but there is a section on each building that drops down to about 25.5 feet to give some roof line movement. The finish is mostly stucco with Hardy V-groove siding accent areas around windows and entries on the first and second floor. There is matte black metal accent framing around the windows and railings. And the ground floor patio is surrounded by that 6-foot high wall, 4 of which is CMU, and then the top 2 is a metal picket view fence. And this is the building that would front Guadalupe Road, and that fence there is the reason for the use permit. It encroaches into the front yard setback, which in the RO district is 15 feet, and it encroaches at most 2 feet on the west side. And here's the elevation for building type 2. These are the 3 units combined. And then here is type 3. These would be along the north property line. And as we've seen already, here are some renderings. This would be along Guadalupe Road. This is the main entrance. And looking back a little further into the development. And this is back towards the mailbox area. And then the dog park is further out into the distance back there. And here is within the Ramada area and the dog park further back. There was no neighborhood meeting held. It was not required for this since it was a use by right. And for public input, I received a phone call yesterday asking for more information. And then this afternoon, I received an email with a petition with signatures in opposition. And staff recommends approval subject to conditions, and there are no non-standard conditions of approval. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Other questions for staff? Commissioner Lloyd?
Thank you. Can you show some of those units that are up against the neighboring residences and how the design addresses privacy concerns?
Chair Johnson, Commissioner Lloyd, so this is the elevation that would be up against the north property line. And specifically, it would be number 1 and number 3. So the 2 renderings on the right-hand side would be visible from the properties to the north, the single-family residential.
And can you discuss like lines of sight from those units, or was that studied?
Commissioner Lloyd, I don't believe lines of sight were studied, but if I can go back to the landscape plan. So there will be 2 trees per building. So these trees at full maturity would be, I would guess, 20 to 30 feet tall. So they would obscure most of the height of this building at full maturity. So that would provide some privacy mitigation. And along with this project, there will be CC&R's agreements for maintenance of these landscape areas to make sure that those trees stay healthy and are able to grow to their fullest maturity.
So in looking at the site plan that you have up, I don't know if that's building G there, would that have visual into that pool to the north of it, for example?
Commissioner Lloyd, there are 2 windows of a bedroom that would look into that property until the tree is at full maturity. And each of those buildings actually would have 2 second-floor bedroom windows that would look north.
So I can see where that could be problematic, and I know we've heard cases like this before on second stories. Was it taken into consideration to design windows a certain way or not, or can you speak to that?
Yeah, Commissioner Lloyd, when we saw this landscape plan, that was what we saw as a big privacy mitigation aspect to that. We didn't bring up to the applicant so much different types of windows or window placement themselves.
Commissioner Redmond?
When you mentioned the landscaping will be useful when it grows to maturity, what is that, 15 years?
Commissioner Redmond, I'm actually not sure how long it would take to grow to maturity. I know mesquites grow fairly quickly, so I would say probably 3 to 4 years would be mostly to a full height.
They grow quickly. I wouldn't say they grow up quickly, and they're fragile and they break often when they grow up. Yeah, I don't know if it's the best choice. Did I hear live oak also?
Yes, there will be live oak.
Which don't grow quickly, I don't think. But
Commissioner Richter?
What's the minimum box size tree that's required?
Commissioner Richter is 36 inch.
36 inch? Yeah. Would the applicant be open to providing a larger tree so that reaching a visual height would come quicker?
That can be discussed with the applicant.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, if I may, Robert. You can also talk to the applicant about considering the opaqueness of the windows as a possible option.
Yeah, I was actually curious about the floor plan and if there was an opportunity to maybe move those windows to another side of the wall that would not be facing the yards and perhaps have the raised high windows that would not have that direct view. That's something that's been utilized a lot, and we played around with floor plans a bit to change the location of windows a lot on different floor plans so that we don't have that direct line of sight. I think that's something that we, if possible, try to avoid, but I do also understand that there's a need for the egress windows in bedrooms, and sometimes it's not avoidable, so maybe there is some opportunity for some type of opaque treatment that could work as well.
Yes, and Chair Johnson, these are egress windows, so that is something to take into consideration.
Right. Other comments or questions? All right, thank you for the presentation. We will now move on to our public comment period. And we have several folks who have submitted these comment cards. If anyone here is wishing to speak on this one and have not filled out one of these, please bring it up to Ms. Berry, and we can hear from you. All right, we have several here that, there's a couple that do not wish to speak. They just wanted their comments read into the record.
I'm sorry, Chair Johnson, I didn't see that, and we no longer read comments into the record per city councils,
Okay.
how they run it.
Okay, so let me give them the option to speak if they wish to.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Catherine Wade, did you wish to come up and speak tonight?
I will, thank you.
Okay. And the other one I have is Julie, and the last name is? Child. Okay. Did you wish to speak instead of, okay, you can come up after Catherine.
I'll make just a couple of comments.
If you can state your name and city of
sorry.
residence, please.
Catherine Wade, 1037 East Libra. So I am on the north part of this planned community. I live in that same neighborhood, just on the street that's right adjacent to this property. My comment would be that my family room has a 15-foot clear story. So if these properties are 27 feet, that makes it 12 feet above the top of my house. So first and foremost, I think that is way too tall for the property that is adjacent to this. Second, the trees, as was mentioned, it would be 10 to 15 years before those trees were fully developed, having just had to put new trees in my front yard because the old ones fell down after a storm. So I know how slow they are growing, and they will not be 27 feet high in the 10 to 15 years to cover the back of these houses. And as mentioned, those windows, as we all know, have to have access or egress, as you mentioned, so that people can get out. So yes, making them opaque, but there is probably no way to, we'll call them, make them a clear story type window in a bedroom. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Julie, you said your last name is Child? Is that Child. Julie Child. If you could also state your name and city of residence into the record.
My name is Julie Child. My residence is 1001 East Gemini Drive in the same subdivision that everybody else is in.
Thank you.
Just to make a comment, my husband, he's no longer with us, but he was in real estate. He was also a land acquisitioner. And I can remember seeing a lot of things laid out like this. And his comment would be, they're trying to put too much in a small place. And so they're stacking it. They're putting the garage at the bottom, making the house even taller. And I just think that they need to start thinking maybe of a different way to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Amy Bobbitt with Barbara on deck.
Hello, my name's Amy Bobbitt, and I live in Tempe, Arizona. I actually own 2 houses in this community. And our concern is that this community is 35 custom homes that were built in the 70s and 80s. They're on between 1/3 and 1/2 acre lots. So it's a unique community that has some history. The last sale, the people just moved in last week, and their house is adjacent to this wall. They paid $950,000 for the house, $329 a square foot. So we're trying to protect value, privacy, and concern about noise. Those are our main concerns. We think that the buildings are way too close to that wall. And if someone in the townhouse is standing on their balcony, they're looking right into one of these properties. And so I don't know how you maintain privacy. And these are family homes and kids out there and swimming pools and stuff, and we're just extremely concerned about the privacy and the noise and our property values. So, thank you.
Thank you. Barbara Tygeson with Laura Carey on deck. Hi.
Good job on the name. Barbara Tygeson, Tempe, Arizona. I'm also in that same northern area. I think the comments have already been made, which is the privacy concerns. One of the questions, and it's been hard to understand, or I haven't seen in great detail, all of the plans, but I agree with the comments that have been stated already related to the trees. And along with a tree waiting for it to grow, it goes out this way as well. So what is the distance between the wall that we're putting up here and where the buildings are going to be? Because right now it looks pretty small as far as what that distance is. All of the buildings and properties that are there are all one story. They're not multi-story. So this is going to be definitely sticking its head up and looking right down into the properties that we've bought. That's it.
Thank you. Laura Carey, and with Cheryl Masur on deck.
Hi, my property will be directly affected by this. I'm at 953 East Lieber Drive.
And could you state your name also, please?
Pardon me? Oh, Laura Carey.
Thank you.
And from what I can tell in the plans, which are pretty small, there's only a 9-foot difference between where the building ends and the wall is. And you're going to be looking right into my pool area and right into my bedroom. I also agree with the same issue that trees take a while to grow. And I don't think, 3 to 4 years is reasonable at all. This is a custom home area. Most of the homes are close to $1 million. And I don't think any of us really want, we're all one story. And I also went up to La Tierra, which is down the street, which has got 2-story apartment buildings that they converted to condominiums. And I measured the setback from that wall to where the buildings start, and it's 83 feet. And as far as I know, from the best I can tell, there's going to be a 9-foot difference between the wall and the property with the second story looking right down in everybody's bedrooms and in their swimming pool area. And what else do I have here? The other issue that I've just started thinking about while I was here was lighting. So I would assume for security reasons, these buildings are going to be lighted and have corner lights or something, and just also wondering how that's going to affect, when it's up this high, people sleeping and disturbing their sleep with extra lighting that doesn't, that's going to be on there all night long, as far as I can tell. I can't imagine you're going to have it be dark back there. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And last comment card that I have is Cheryl Masur.
You're close.
That was close.
Cheryl Mauser.
Mauser,
Not
thank
quite
you.
so fancy. 931 East Lieber Drive. We would be adjacent to the dog park. And we are not thrilled about this. It was a big surprise to all of us. I think it's kind of a surprise that we weren't notified prior to the developing of the plans, but then I don't know how this kind of thing works. It was very difficult for my old ears to hear your nice presentation. I wish that he had pointed so that we could know what he was talking about, because if you don't have the skills to read a plan, it's kind of hard to know. But like Catherine said, this neighborhood was established in 1973. It's a bunch of wonderful people that have invested for all those years in their homes. And this will definitely depreciate the value of our homes. I feel terrible for our next door neighbor that just moved in last week. Then he will be next to the party center with the barbecue. His pool is right up against the back fence that we have, and as the Karen's is. And it's just a terrible thought to think that there are going to be buildings that tall, 27 feet tall, that will be able to, not that we're that interesting, but they would be able to look into the privacy of our yard. So that's a big concern. I didn't understand about parking. I don't understand about the wall, where the wall is, because I don't have a reference for that. Are you going to increase the size of the wall between the development and our houses? Because right now they're about 6 feet. That's not that tall. And it looks like there are vines growing on the wall as well. And Anyway, we're very seriously sad about this, I have to tell you. So with your consideration into a lot of people that have invested like you have in your homes, I hope you're consider that this could happen to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Was there anyone else here tonight wishing to speak on this item from the public? All right. So I'd like to invite the applicant back up to respond to some of the items that you've heard, if you wish to.
I think Mike's can come up too. He's the owner of the property, but we are willing to look into increasing the size of the initial tree to 48 inches along that property line where the units are to help facilitate it growing maybe a little bit faster. Also looking into some sort of obscure film or something on those windows. However, those are egress windows. And we can't really remove them as that particular bedroom is in the central part of the home. So we can't raise the windows higher, that location. Anything you want to add?
No, unless you guys have any questions. Mike Hare, Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm with the ownership group.
There was a question related to the wall between your development and the neighbors.
Correct.
Do you have any response on that?
I believe that's in compliance. It's residential to residential, and it would, as proposed, stay as the existing CMU wall.
And then I think the other question related to parking. Do you have any description of I guess it's kind of intuitive what happens with the owners. What about visitor parking and things of that nature?
Yes, so each unit will have a 2-car garage, and then the balance of the on-site parking is in compliance with the parking ratios that are required under residential in City of Tempe. And then the other thing is we do have 6 designated shared parking spaces that are with our adjoining office neighbors.
Okay. Did anyone else have questions for the applicant? Commissioner Miller?
Okay, I'm looking at the site plan now, and a lot from looking at see if I'm reading this right, from the building wall to the back wall that you're talking about, the 6-foot wall, is anywhere from basically 10 feet 3 to 11 feet 3. Is that about right?
I apologize. I don't have my glasses on and the screen. There we go. Robert, can you confirm that? Yeah, and I believe everything on this site plan is in compliance with all of the planning requirements and site development requirements, other than what we initially started out the meeting with, and that was with the request for the use permit along Guadalupe Road. I just want to make it everybody understand that the only building where we're requesting the use permit is this single building along Guadalupe, and the primary purpose for that is security. It's right along the public sidewalk. Those are the front entrances to those units. And, we believe it adds a required additional element of security. And we tried to do it in a relatively fashionable manner with the combination of the solid CMU and the meshed metal above.
Commissioner Lloyd?
Thanks. So I hate to reinvent the wheel here because I do like the design of the overall project. Is there any way to shift your design so that 4 north buildings could be reoriented, that the windows aren't facing the neighborhood to the north?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, and I want you guys to know that this has been about an 8-month process with staff working through various iterations. I think this is the 6th iteration that we're on now. But the key element to your question there is the garage orientation. And with the garage orientation on all these units, it's east to west. And with that, we feel like it creates even less impact than if you were to turn those buildings so that the garages were oriented north to south. So we believe this is actually the least amount of impact from a visual perspective on those units.
And if we turn those units, then we have the balcony that's on the backside
Right,
looking.
hanging over, yep. So again, if there was the ability with, fire would accept, some variation to those windows, we don't have issue with attempting to raise those to a high window to lessen the impacts. But again, I think that's going to be dictated by fire code.
Commissioner Miller?
Okay, I just want to come back to that area along the north wall. And basically it's about 10, as I say, between 10 and 11 feet.
Correct.
If you put a 48-inch box tree in there, you're not left with a lot of room, and it's also probably going to be growing over your wall and intruding over into the neighbor's property, or being pruned an awful lot. And I'm sympathetic to what you're trying to do, because I understand you've got issues in building orientation. Just in looking at it, it works the way you have it, and I don't think it would work if you flip those to a north-south orientation for the garage, let alone the problem you'd have with the balcony. That said, there's the issue of how do you solve the intrusiveness into the neighborhood. I don't know. I'm a little concerned that if you put a larger tree there, you solve one problem, but that tree is going to take up a lot of room very quickly. And you're going to spend a lot of time maintaining them.
Commissioner Lloyd?
I mean, I gotta say, possible solution probably doesn't help your pro forma, but if you shaved off 4 of those units and made the south 4 a little bigger, so your setback from the neighbors was farther away, is a compromise that allows you to build, what do you have here, 20 units? 16 units instead of 20, but gives the neighbors a bit more privacy. Just a thought for discussion.
It's actually 8 units then.
No, if he keep half of them on the north side, but get rid of the north half, right? We're talking about 2, 4, 6, 8 units. You'd keep 4 of them. Maybe resize them a bit, make them a bit larger, but shave off the top 4 units so they're not so close.
So you're saying just make those 1-story units as opposed to 2-story?
Potentially.
That doesn't seem like it works. Just from, currently.
They could be two-story units, but there's only 4 of them. Oops, wrong way. And flashing green. There we go. They could be 2-story units, but there would only be 4 of them, not 8 of them, right? Are there currently 8? Or are there currently, yeah, there's currently 8.
But what's the current orientation? The garage is a
That's an
east-west or a north?
east-west orientation, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so it would work.
Commissioner Richter?
I have a quick question. Is there any place on the site plan that you can shift buildings to maintain all of your traffic, all your required clearances to provide a little bit more space in the north?
Yeah, and again, this site plan has been through several iterations over the last eight months. The biggest challenge is trash and fire, and making sure that we can maintain the ample turning radiuses. And if there's another way to do it, I'm open to it. But at the end of the day, this site plan has been massaged some time, and I'm not sure that there is an alternative orientation.
Would we be able to see the floor plan for those, the building type 3, so we can look at that second story floor plan?
Type 3, which is the duplex.
Yeah, I think you'd have to go into Robert's
Robert,
presentation. Yeah,
can you bring that up?
here we go. So it's the floor plans there on the right.
Is there any way to enlarge that? There we go.
Yeah.
So,
So that's the second story right there.
yeah, bottom is the first story?
Correct.
There you go.
So can we go back up to the second story? Yeah. So the only windows that appear to be an issue are the ones that show A
Yeah, A and B on the
on the opposite side?
Yeah.
Can we mirror, is one side less intrusive than the other?
No, they're the exact same unit. They're just mirrored.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So,
What I'm wondering is the bathroom. You've got the bathroom up against the, looks like, I don't know if that would be the north wall, but the top wall, if that could be mirrored and have your egress windows on that top wall for that bedroom. I'm just wondering, you know, is there a way that you can work to eliminate that direct line of sight into the neighborhood?
there's all kinds of ripples with that, with all the structural and so forth, but, I mean,
I know this is a significant change.
yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to,
Yeah.
in the moment, yeah, make those decisions.
Yeah.
I think the most difficult part about that is entry into that bedroom, because where the current door is into the interior bedroom, and then there's not enough space for the door to go into that room.
You've got a door on both sides of that, it looks like. You've got a door going into the bathroom and a door going into the bedroom, and then a door in between the two.
Right, so the door that's currently going into the bedroom
Mm-hmm.
would be where the bathroom would be now. And then there's no space to put a door if the bedroom was to the north.
Oh, I see, okay, because there's another bedroom over there.
Yeah.
This is a Jack and Jill setup, I didn't realize that, okay.
Yeah, so there's 3 bedrooms on the second floor.
Other questions?
Well, this,
Commissioner Spears?
it's kind of hard to redesign a project on
Yeah.
the fly.
That's true.
It would make sense, I think, if we approve this, that we have staff continue to work with the applicant on some way to provide the privacy for this, and whether it's opaque windows or smaller window or some, I mean, yes, it still has to be egress, but maybe it's not as you know, most people don't buy a unit hoping they can look into their neighbor's backyard. So something that would still be aesthetically pleasing to whoever.
And then another thing to think about is this is not a living space, it's a bedroom. So most people don't spend, 24 hours a day in their room, hopefully.
Any other questions for the applicant? What's the discussion? Commissioner Lloyd?
Could you speak to the comment from the audience about lighting and if there's any direct lighting going into the backyards?
Yeah, and so we did a complete photometric study, and I think everything with regards to that is in compliance. It is low lighting. All the private street lighting, I believe, is maxed out at 15 feet. Robert, is that correct? Yeah, so it's I wouldn't call it a dark sky concept, but, like you'd see up in the northern desert areas of Scottsdale and so forth. But if there's anything we can do to mitigate that in the design process, we're more than happy to make sure that we maintain, the lowest lighting levels. But remember, at the same time, maintaining, proper security and so forth, because that is a large green space. It's unusual for a project of this size to have that much, green open space with that dog park. So we just want to make sure that, the security elements are addressed with the lighting. But as far as low level lighting, obviously we personally want to have that within the community. And I think as it's designed today, it does address that.
Other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Would staff like to respond as well?
Robert,
The public comment period, there's no response back from the general public. We're now in conversations with staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, some of the comments, as far as the setback to the north property line, it is at least 10 feet, and that is the standard for the zoning district. So that is meeting standard for that. For the windows themselves, we could add a condition of approval so those north-facing buildings could have a frosted glass to them to provide some privacy to the neighbors to the north. And also another thing that was mentioned, for the balconies themselves, we could add a condition to have like a screening along the side of the balcony that faces north. So if you're sitting in the balcony, you're not looking at your neighbor, and if you're a neighbor in your backyard, you're not looking at people sitting in the balcony. So that is something that a condition of approval that we could add. And as far as lighting comment, the city does utilize and require full cutoff fixtures, so there would not be any light, escaping north or up into the sky. So everything would be focused down to the ground to help mitigate any type of lighting pollution that would occur.
Okay, any questions for staff? Commissioner Miller?
I just have one. Looking at the site plan, to the immediate east of the site, on the southern part, there's the medical office property, which is got its parking and everything, and that's fine. But then there's the northern part of this development, and that appears to abut lot 44 of Westchester Estates. Is there some? And that looks like it's got the same kind of issue, but they're sitting on a balcony looking over there. And I don't know if what's there, if that's a developed lot or not, but just sort of when you're looking at it, probably you're going to landscape along that property line as well, I'm assuming. Can't remember back, but see where I'm talking
Yes,
about.
Commissioner Miller, there is landscaping along that property line also, and that looks like it is a single-family residence.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Well, now that that's brought up, if we're treating the north side and having multiple trees, it probably would make sense to add a tree. I know you've got a much wider setback on that side than on the north side, but I would look at an opportunity for another tree. You've got one there. Yeah, it looks like there's at least twice as big a setback there.
So Chair Johnson, you're recommending adding a second tree along the east
You see
side of
building
G?
3, building G, the south unit.
Yes.
Probably should be a tree between that and that neighbor's wall as well.
Okay.
I'm not a landscape architect, but if we're treating all the things equal, then that would make sense to me. Other questions for staff? If we did have a different, I'm just speculating here, related to looking at the floor plan to see if there was a way to rework that floor plan to minimize or eliminate the windows on the north side. Is that something staff could entertain?
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So if it was within the threshold of a minor DPR, or is that what you're suggesting, that maybe we could do it administratively? In other
Yes,
words? Yes, if
correct.
it falls within the criteria of a minor DPR, then we could do that at the staff level.
Okay. Any other questions, comments for staff? Okay, thank you. All right, with that, we are closing the public comment period. And now we move on to commission discussion. Commissioner Spears.
I appreciate the open space that's been built into this project. That's an objective of the general plan. And so just spatially, it looks like they could have put another couple of buildings there and they didn't. So I like that. The layout of the property, I think approving the use permit for the wall makes sense to provide more privacy for anyone living on the Guadalupe roadside. And unfortunately, infill projects are difficult, and it looks like it's a pretty good job, and we need more housing, so I like the project.
Other comments?
Motion?
No, I'll comment if no one else is. I agree on several things you mentioned, Commissioner Spears. I see a lot of these infill projects that are actually much more dense, and I was a little bit surprised to see that this was just a 2-story project. Many times these will come to us as 3-story projects, and seeing a 2-story project is actually I liked seeing 2-story projects rather than 3-story projects. The fence along Guadalupe again makes a lot of sense. I think the big issue for me is not the density of the project or the height of the project. It's related to that line of sight into the neighborhood. I have a lot of empathy with that. And so I would like to, I would support a motion that would look to address that. Any other comments or motions? Commissioner Spears.
I would move for the approval of PL 24041 with the conditions increasing the tree size to 48 inches, and that's the applicant continue to work with staff on resolving the window issue, whether that's size or placement or whatever, but I think staff is capable of doing that.
Do we need a specifically written condition?
Mr. Chairman, I think that the way Commissioner Spears indicated it would be fine. So to increase the tree size 48 inches and for the applicant to continue to work with staff on the window design and placement to address privacy concerns.
And maybe a balcony screen.
The balcony screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, privacy issues, so
Yes.
that's fine.
All right, so a motion for approval with an additional condition has been moved by Commissioner Spears. Is there a second?
Second.
And that's seconded by Commissioner Richter. All those in favor, could you please raise your hand? Okay, and that passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is item 4B, which is College Avenue ADU. Would the applicant please approach?
Hi, my name is Mike Wolf. I'm a Tempe resident. My wife and I have lived in Tempe and been homeowners over 25 years. And we're proposing a ADU on 2021 South College Avenue. And we're requesting a use permit to exceed the height of 15-foot allowable to 24 feet. All right. So what we want to do is try and address 4 conditions to the project. The first being privacy, and we wanted to preserve the privacy of the surrounding homes. As a Tempe resident, I thoroughly understand the concern of having a larger building built in your backyard, and we wanted to make sure that was, we heard the neighbors, we heard their complaints, and we wanted to know that them to know that we addressed them all during the design process. The next is the precedent, and there's a proximity of existing multi-story structures that have been approved in this neighborhood. The third is the character, and we wanted to enhance what makes this particular Broadmoor neighborhood special. And then finally, the value, which increases the area property values, not only for this property, but for the adjacent neighbors. So first is privacy. Preserving the privacy of the surrounding neighborhood has been a key concern from the beginning of the design. Only the windows on the west or front of the structure are vision windows, and all other sides either have clear story or opaque windows, so there's no view into adjacent yards. The neighborhood yards are not visible from the clear story with this proposed design. To precedent, this would not be the first 2-story project allowed in the Broadmoor neighborhood. 2 other projects have been approved. One was built just 3 houses away, as shown in the picture on the right. The windows on that project are actually full window wall systems with full views to the north into other neighborhoods. There are several other large multi-story structures on Forest, which is just 1 street to the west. The next we want to address is character. And the Cox family purchased this particular home because they love the character of Tempe. They're Tempe residents, longtime Tempe residents, and they love the Broadmoor neighborhood. They want to pursue this project to create a structure that is in harmony with the existing structure and enhance value to this neighborhood and add to the character of this neighborhood. The proposed new structure will use the same high-end finishes and design style as the main residence and surrounding homes. The fourth is value. So the Cox family has already made a substantial investment of their own time and money into this project by remodeling the primary residence on the property. This was a dilapidated building that had gone without any services for years, possibly decades, and they came in, cleaned it all up, and made it look like one of the nicest homes on the block. This new project will require another large financial investment and can be expected to increase the value of this property. So with this home as a new comp, the surrounding property owners can effortlessly reap the increased property values because of the addition. I'd like to bring up Ed Cox, the owner, to say a few things about why this project is important to him.
If I seem nervous, I am. I do not take what we're asking for lightly by any means. I have worked in this valley in Tempe for 50 years, in Palos Gasways, Pueblo Lumber, and Miller Wholesale. My wife and I met at Tempe High School in 1977. We're married. Her parents met at Tempe High School in 1958 and 59, and we're married. Her parents, or their parents, great-grandparents, the Rundle family, got started as her grandparents, and then her great-grandparents, the Babers, owned Baber Mercantile on Mill Avenue. So change is difficult, yes, I agree. I don't like it like anybody else does or doesn't, but what I will say, I was sitting across the street on 6th Street as they were digging a hole in the ground for this, and I'm like, I wonder what they're doing there. So I've seen this city change big time over the last 65 years. What I would like to point out is the house itself that we purchased was owned by a person who gave it they neglected it for 30 years. They left the water on, let the trees grow, let vermin, it was horrible. People would walk across the street to get away from the house. We purchased the house with the intention of a rental. We then decided, after putting so much work into it, this would be a great place to live. My wife used to walk in front of this house to McCamey School when she was a little girl. So we decided this is where we want to be. The only problem we had is we needed garage. We need a place to park cars. I love to work on stuff. This can be our forever home. I need a place, I need a workshop. She wanted a place that she could have as a sewing room and an attic. We took out 15 40-yard dumpsters of vegetation and trash from this house. We have been working on it for 2.5 years. We have definitely made an impact. All the people, I'm just surprised there was as many cards and stuff that people were complaining about, because as we worked on the house, every person who came by and interrupted us asked us or told us, thank you very much, we appreciate this, you're helping us, this is great, this is a wonderful thing that you're doing, not realizing how far we had gone with this house ourselves, because we've seen it every day and worked on it. We again want to do this addition in the back. We want to make it so that it's harmonization with the community. We want the two houses to match. There's homes in Tempe that have this style that you can't even see the structures in the backyard, and they work very well. We plan on fully landscaping the front and back. We live at 107 West Alameda. We have the nicest home in the neighborhood, bar none. And it's not me saying that, that's all the neighbors that live in that whole neighborhood. We intend to bring that to this house on College. There was a photograph here earlier that showed, I don't know how to work this, but there was a picture that we took Saturday. You looked across the street and there's cars parked in front yards. There's 6 cars in this yard in a driveway and people parked on College. That's not what we want. We want to have the garage with the rear access. We want to be able to keep cars off the street. We took the house and left it exactly like it was, so it would have the Tempe charm with the carport. It would have been easy to redesign the house, put a double car garage on it, stucco the whole thing and make it look like anything else and throw gravel down. That is not our intentions. There was a picture up there earlier showing the siding and showing the backyard, the grass yard. That's the house that we live in now. The flowers, that's the front yard of the house we live in now. We plan on bringing all of these to the house that we're going to live in for the rest of our lives. And I'm here to answer any questions for anybody. I thought they were going to burn me at the stake when I saw some of the comments coming through Facebook. We are not big, rich landowners. We own 2 homes, one on Alameda and this one. It's our life dream to get this house done, move into it, and be a part of that community. I would like to answer any questions anybody has. You cannot see into any of the yards the way we've designed it. Everything about what we've done was with the thought process of other people, not so much ourselves, other than the fact that we needed a sewing room for my wife upstairs. And we do not intend, and I'm sorry to say this, we do not intend ever renting that as an ADU. We do not have people that we want to rent this thing. This is our home. We're going to live there. We want to have that for us. So as far as the use that it would get, very little, but it'd be nice to have. So does anybody have any questions for me? And I'm sorry I'm so nervous. It's just, I'm not a public speaker.
We all understand that. Any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Lloyd?
Just in speaking to I don't know if we've actually seen the design yet, but the stairs are on the exterior. Is there a reason they can't be interior loaded?
Well, if you put the stairs inside the house, then it takes up the garage space. It just didn't seem to work. It just seemed it would be, there's a deck up on top that faces into our own backyard, and with the stairs going up to that deck, it just made it more, I shouldn't say convenient, it's just aesthetically it looked better. I mean, I guess if you had to, you could put the stairs on the inside, but that would be very difficult to redesign, I think, the little 800 square foot ADU up above.
Okay, I was just curious.
And then upstairs where that deck is, that was going to be like a 3-window stackable unit, so you could open the whole face of that where the deck is. So I don't know where the stairs would actually end up in the living room.
Yeah, okay.
I call it living area, I guess. Any more?
So the garage has openings on both ends?
Yes, sir. Okay. It's got a double car garage door in the alley. We plan on putting a full tall fence in the back with a gate there also, so you're not looking at a garage door. There's a garage door in the front, a 12-foot wide garage door that you can enter from the front. There's also another garage door just below the deck that can be opened up to access as like a little courtyard. It's pretty unique.
Any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
And Mr. Jensen?
All right. Thank you, Chair Johnson, members of the Development Review Commission, Lucas Jensen, Planner 2, Community Development. Tonight we're hearing the request for the College Ave ADU. This is 2 use permits, one use permit to allow the second-story addition, the second use permit to allow a height increase for an accessory building from 15 to 24 feet. This one's at 2021 South College Avenue. Just a reminder, in an R16 single-family residential zoning district, an accessory dwelling unit is, allowed by right. What we're looking at here is, the design of this ADU in context to the approval criteria for the use permit, not necessarily the use as an ADU or, as he described it, a guest quarters not being rented. This is the site here just south of Broadway Road on the east side of College. The zoning in the area is predominantly single-family residential in the Broadmoor Neighborhood Association, where this property is located, and then to the east of here, a pretty large neighborhood association. There is some multifamily residential zoning districts just on the west side of College Avenue. There's a couple of townhome or condominium projects, duplex, so kind of various housing types in the area. And then in the aerial imagery, you can see, I think this is the only time you'll see it, the existing garage in the rear on the, I think that's the northeast side of the property. That's going to be demolished to be replaced with that accessory building. These are photos of the front. I'm going to skip just to the ones of the rear. I think that's the only thing we would be interested in seeing. You can see the alleyway, the small chain link fence in the rear, and then the garage structure in the back. And then here's just another view of where that's going to be located in the back of the property. The site plan, so again, this is the removal of the existing detached garage and construction of a new 2-story ADU. There's at least 3 parking spaces on site. You can see there's one in the bottom floor of the ADU in that garage area, one just past the gate in between the ADU and the property, and then one underneath the existing carport. There's 2 additional spaces that would be permitted to be parked in. Since they are providing the required parking spaces, they can utilize the driveway for an additional 2 parking spaces for a total of 5 on site. And then, as I mentioned, just a correction to the staff report for full transparency is that I did note in the staff report that there would be an additional 2 spaces on College Avenue, but that wouldn't work since there's no parking on College Avenue. These are the elevations. As you mentioned, the stairway is on the exterior on the south side. And then actually, let me back up 1 second to the side. So setback requirements really quick for the accessory dwelling unit. State mandated language, we cannot require more than 5 feet setback for an accessory dwelling unit. That's why you're seeing a 5-foot setback on the north. They actually have a larger setback in the rear and on the south side than would be required, since we would measure that from the midpoint of the alley. So the setback in the rear is actually 17 feet when you measure it to the bottom floor, and then 15 feet when you measure it to the upper floor, because there is a 2-foot projection of that upper floor to the east. The elevations, as the owner noted, there is a few garage doors located on this one. The front or west elevation is the one that faces the west towards the existing property. 2 garage doors there with the wrapped entryway to the front door of the accessory dwelling unit. On the south elevation, you have the stairway access and 2 windows. I do want to point out that I did not receive details for frosted or opaque windows on these elevations. So as this is drawn, I'm of the understanding that those are clear, visible windows on that south elevation. But all of the other elevations facing the east and the north closest to adjacent properties do feature either clerestory windows, in the case on the north elevation, and then on the east elevation, separated by the alley, the only window there is a window located in the restroom. So that seemed to mitigate privacy concerns from staff's point of view. The materials, as they mentioned, blend. It's a composite siding and then a standing seam metal roof that matches what exists on the property today. These are the floor plans. Again, it's a large workshop and garage. For our code requirements, we could only, list one car as fitting in that, just because there's, access issues. I'm sure there's a way he could fit a second car in there if he was working on something, but for parking requirements, it is providing a parking space underneath that accessory building that's provided. Did want to just touch on a few of the similar entitlements that have been processed in the area. One is just to the north across Broadway. This is an interesting situation where it was approved twice, once in 1999 and once in 2005 for a second story addition both times, and never was completed. Just wanted to note that it was approved at one point in time. The other is 2046 South College. That's just on the west side of College Avenue. Approved in 2003. This one was permitted and constructed as a second story addition. That's the one they showed you in their slides as well. A few other similar, a few other two-story buildings in the area. The first one is at 151 East Broadway. This is a condominium complex. This one, I believe, was entitled and built sometime in the 80s, but this is a two-story multifamily condominium just to the west here. You also have 2046 South Forest. That's immediately to the west. These are both in multifamily residential areas, but do feature two-story design. And then again, that other single-family two-story one along College Avenue that you can see there. Staff's evaluation of the use permit criteria, it meets no significant vehicular or pedestrian increases to traffic. I did just revise this for the slideshow just to note what the appropriate number of parking spaces is. As the owner mentioned, this is remaining a single family use. There's no nuisance associated with that as far as we're concerned. There is some precedent for two-story units within the area. And when we look at the compatibility with the existing and surrounding structures, we're looking at the design, the height, a multitude of factors, and we find that in keeping with the architectural design and some precedents in the area that this is compatible with the existing and surrounding structures and uses. And no nuisance. The ones that we were most concerned about when reviewing this is the privacy concerns. So during our review, we made sure that clerestory windows and minimizing windows on the areas most adjacent to property owners. So like I said, that north side, inclusion of clerestory windows mitigates those concerns, and sufficient parking is provided on this. No parking is required by code for an ADU, so they're providing additional space willingly for this project. We do not require a neighborhood meeting. As of 1 o'clock today, we did receive 13 emails and 3 phone calls in opposition to this project, and did get 1 email in support, in addition to some of the online comment cards you did receive. The concerns that I found when reading and listening to residents in the area was that it was mostly concerns regarding privacy or impacts to the neighborhood character with a 2-story building, traffic concerns, and alleyway access. And just as a reminder, alleyway access is something that we can't dictate for accessory dwelling units by code, state mandated. Our recommendation, my recommendation is to approve this subject to conditions. There's only one unique condition of approval, is that it should be painted to match the color of the existing home. Typically when things come through, we have a paint palette, but it wasn't provided on this one, so we've added it as a condition there. And then I'm free if you have any questions.
Questions for staff? Okay, thank you. Good. All right, let's move on to the public comment period. Again, anyone wishing to speak on this item tonight, please fill out one of these cards and bring it up to Ms. Berry. I do have 3 already that have been submitted. I'll start off with Irene Vitullo. Hi, please state your name and city of residence.
Yes. My name is Irene Vitullo, and I live.
You can pull the mic down. So yeah, there you go.
My name is Irene Vitullo, and I live just a few houses down from this proposed addition. And I am speaking as a spokesperson for the many Boardman neighbors that I've spoken to and that I know well, who oppose this request for the ADU. They think it's just a precedent for more of the same. And our neighborhood was all built on single-story dwellings. And people who did want another story, one dug down deep into the earth in order to get a basement that is very livable. So this goes against the character of the neighborhood and the character of the neighbors there. We don't oppose one-story ADUs. In fact, I live in one. But it's the two-story that's the question here. And it's a dangerous precedent in the neighborhood because there are other people who say, perhaps I could build something on top of my garage. And that is not what the neighborhood is like. In fact, half a block from this proposal is a Broadmoor Public School where there are almost 800 students. And they walk on these streets every day. And they walk home. And you want them to be around other families who also are concerned about the safety of their children. So I think that's the key issue. Now, if more affordable housing is available or necessary, there are other ways to do it, and this is another proposal. I'm not officially making it tonight, but it's one certainly that developers could consider and that the Tempe Community Council needs to take on. Every new development could have 10% affordable units mandated. This is done in other cities, big cities, Chicago, for example. So that, yes, people can have affordable units and they're close to where they work and where they go to school. So that is my comments for this evening. And I hope that you consider these comments seriously, not just from the point of a developer, but from the point of the residents of this community, which is always safe, very friendly, and very affordable community at the present time. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up is Mike Zamora.
Good evening. My name is Mike Zamora. I'm a resident of Tempe. I am the neighbor directly east of the property being presented. The concern about the approval of this two-story ADU isn't just about setback. It isn't just about the block visibility as shown in these photos. It is about losing my property rights by looking at a large wall, and more so, it is about changing the character of established Tempe neighborhood. It isn't about stopping progress or housing development because this issue is addressed through single-story ADUs in a residential neighborhood. In the city of Tempe, housing development is also addressed in areas like Tempe Town Lake, Novus, and many other mid-rise and high-rise structures which have and will be approved in existing built-up areas along the major arteries. If the intent is to keep Tempe beautiful and a wonderful place to live, then approving a two-story ADU in this neighborhood, 1, destroys the charm of a well-established neighborhood, 2, hurts the character and soul of what has helped make Tempe ranked as one of the best cities to live in America, 3, sets a precedent for the approval of two-story ADUs, to be built across Tempe, and 4 is not located within the 1-mile limit of Tempe CBDs for the state-mandated 2-story middle housing bill. I am a concerned neighbor helping other neighbors, so their community in Tempe is not destroyed and ends up being transformed into a Los Angeles. As a third-generation Valley native, I graduated from ASU's College of Architecture before receiving my graduate degree in real estate development. I oppose a 2-story ADU, but do not oppose a single-story auxiliary unit as currently exists and is shown in the photograph. For a single-story ADU, there is no impacted visibility or privacy issue. To meet the submitter's request, I am proposing instead 2 single-story side-by-side auxiliary units, which would be within the existing 45% coverage ratio. With all due respect, commissioners, my request is to not harm the charm of the established neighborhoods of a wonderful city like Tempe that I and thousands of others have loved and enjoyed as a student, a parent, a business person, and a homeowner. Please do not consider approving this 2-story ADU and instead request it to be replaced by 2 single-story side-by-side ADUs. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you for your comments. All right, and the last one that I have for people here to speak is Jason
Silberschlag. I usually don't get the first name wrong, it's just the second one.
Thanks, Jason.
I'll be brief. Thanks for moving into our neighborhood, we'd love to have you. I think my main concern as a second-story unit is that, Commissioner Lloyd mentioned the stairwell outdoors and the bathroom in the garage. To me, as a person who likes to sometimes skirt any requirements possible to do what I need to do, it makes it very easy for when Mr. Cox and his family decide to move on in 3 years because something changes in their life. I hope you stay forever, but if things don't work out, it makes it very easy for a developer or just a real estate person to come in, turn it into an additional unit, have 3 units on the property, parking 5 cars. Seems like a risk. I don't have a problem with second story necessarily. I think the city did a good job with mitigating the privacy issues with the windows. But my main concern is that how simple it will be to turn it into a giant multifamily property in short order when somebody else owns this property. Thank you.
Thank you. Did we have someone online wishing to speak on this one as well?
I have Elizabeth Stewart online. Let me unmute her just a moment. Shows she's unmuted.
Okay, Ms. Stewart, please state your name and city of residence, and please let us know what you want to say tonight. Can you hear us, Elizabeth? No. We're unable to hear you.
In this case, she did write her comment, and if you want to look over.
It sounds like we're having some technical difficulties hearing from this online applicant. Is it, do we have, do you want to share that with me?
Very long comment.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, that's 2 pages of very small type.
Is it one that we've already received?
I'm sorry?
Do we already have it?
I can give you,
Was it in our
maybe
packet?
take a quick overview and give a recap of what is on, if you'd like.
Okay.
Would you like me to present the phone at the microphone? Yes.
Okay.
I do have Elizabeth on the phone.
Do we have the ability to put a phone up to the mic? And
May I do that?
Eddie, if you put on speaker, would it work?
Yeah, why don't we try that?
Elizabeth, try speaking.
Hello? Let me mute this.
I think you need to mute. Are you muted on your phone?
Oh.
Turn all your audio devices off.
Yeah, okay. Let's see. Is this better?
Why don't you give it a shot?
Now,
I think that's better.
hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
That was good, yes. We're on mute.
Oh, yes.
Chairman Johnson, members of the Development Review Commission, my name is Elizabeth Stewart. I reside at 239 East Loma Vista Drive in the Broadmoor neighborhood. The proposed 24-foot-high, two-story College Avenue ADU is not compatible with the surrounding Broadmoor neighborhood single-family residences to the east of College Avenue or with the nearby residents on the east side of College, all of which are single-story. Additionally, it is not compatible with the existing surrounding structures in the Broadmoor neighborhood east of College or within the nearby surrounding structures on the east side of College, which are 15 feet or less high. Nor is it really compatible with the applicant's main residence. It doesn't matter how stylish or modern the proposed design is, a two-story, 24-foot-high ADU tower simply is not compatible or harmonious with the neighboring residences in the Broadmoor neighborhood. The fact that it might be compatible with a two-story residence across College Avenue does not make it compatible with the single-story adjacent neighbors. The fact that Tempe previously approved two permits for two-story ADUs in other neighborhoods with different characteristics and housing mixes does not justify this permit. Both of the previously granted permits are in neighborhoods west of College. Their mix is very much different than ours. It is multifamily houses, college rentals, some single-family residences. We are pretty much exclusively owner-occupied residences with a few rentals. One of the permits that was, was granted was for a two-story main residence. Sorry.
30 seconds.
Okay. The proposed two-story tower will loom over the neighborhood, invading the spatial privacy and create a visual eyesore. The clear-story windows and setbacks are not adequate to mitigate the structure of this height disparity. This will tower over property values of adjacent and nearby homes to the deterioration of the neighborhood. I urge you to deny both. The neighbors purchased their properties next to the applicant's single-story residence with a detached garage. They had no reasonable expectation that the city would allow a use permit for a 24-foot
If you could unmute and ask her to wrap it up, please. If you could please wrap it up, please.
Invade their spatial and visual privacy and decrease the enjoyment of their home.
Elizabeth,
thank you, Elizabeth.
The applicant has other options such as building the two single-story ADUs
Thank you.
or attaching a garage.
Thank you for your comments. I don't know if you can hear me, but we appreciate your comments tonight. So if you can go ahead and yes, thank you.
Elizabeth, you ran out of time, so I have to hang up now.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, appreciate that. No additional comment cards? No one else online? Okay. All right, would the applicant please reapproach and address any comments that you've heard tonight?
We heard, we heard comments about privacy, and we think we mitigated the privacy concerns with the windows as proposed. We had heard some people say there weren't other approved precedent buildings in the area, and we feel there are. We also feel the ADU laws passed by the state are being upheld in this design and this project. We hope you'll find approval for this and move forward with their dream property.
There were a couple comments about safety and then about keeping one story with doing 2 units. Can you address those comments, please?
So the safety, I wasn't quite sure what they meant. There was a school nearby. I agree with that. I'm not sure that this structure on this property prohibits safety in the neighborhood in any way. The second comment about the 2 one-stories, again, hard to redesign on the fly. I'm not sure how that would work on the property. There's a grading and drainage plan in place now that works for the property, and I'm not sure by expanding more of the footprint of the building, we'd be able to keep the grading and drainage plan intact.
Any other? Commissioner Lloyd?
Thank you. As it relates to, I think the ADU unit does not require additional parking. Is that a correct statement?
As far as I know, you're correct.
So then why couldn't a workshop and a sewing room be built on 1 story without a garage below it?
Great question. So what the applicant tried to do is eliminate the eyesore that people see when there's a million cars parked in the driveway. So by offering parking spaces that are both inside the garage, and I know it only shows a 1-car garage, but they're planning to put 2 cars in that garage. They won't have a driveway full of cars, and that's a common complaint in this neighborhood for the rental homes when there'll be 5 and 6 cars, you know, across the sidewalk into the driveway because College Ave does not allow parking on the street.
Other questions or comments? Commissioner Miller?
Just going back, and I know you had addressed the question of the exterior stairway. And you said it's not possible because you're going to take up too much of the workshop space. Was that more or less what you're saying? That shifting the stairway inside, or maybe building around it rather than leaving it outside. Would that be possible, and then making it more essentially compatible on the interior, and maybe mitigating somebody's concerns about, well, you could just use it as a 2-story ADU or convert it to a 2-story ADU. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think there's two components there. The first is the stair. If we move the stair to the inside, it makes both the workshop smaller and the ADU smaller, which is just over 700 square feet. So by eliminating that side where the stair would have to come up, we'd be down, you know, another 40 square feet. Obviously, anything can be done. I'm not sure that the stair, as proposed now, violates any standards of Tempe as currently designed.
No, I was just wondering if you could actually build out around it, not move it, but just extend the wall out.
Oh, you're saying make the project bigger.
Make it, essentially you're not really increasing the footprint because you're just moving that, I think it's the south wall, out around the stairway, and maybe you're having to reconfigure the stair a little bit to make it, you know, change a little bit of the access, but it seems like it wouldn't be something that would be terribly difficult to accomplish.
It wouldn't. Obviously, you could do it, but I think what we hear from the people that came to speak tonight was they didn't like the building being as big as it is, and adding something like that would make the building even bigger.
Well, it seemed to me as though what they were saying is they don't like the height, and they're not looking so much at the massing of the building other than the fact that it's tall, whereas this is really just moving, it's just creating a little bit bigger footprint. But that's, I mean, it's your building, not mine.
Commissioner Lloyd?
Thank you. I believe this is probably for staff, but can you speak to the comment regarding converting the bottom floor workspace into future living space? Because I do kind of share that concern, especially with so many parking spaces on this site. How do you mitigate that for the future?
Thank you for the question, Commissioner Lloyd. That's something that typically gets brought up in our meetings is, you know, when we identify areas that could easily be converted, what makes us identifying that difficult is that if they're, showing us something on a floor plan that meets our requirements, it's very difficult for me to say, remove this because in the future you might do something. If they were to do work, building permits would be required, and if they did that conversion, it would have been done illegally, and would at that point in time be citable by code, and that would be the remedy for that problem. Obviously, it's illegal conversions and illegal work is always a concern, but I don't know if there's a way to mitigate that through the design of this one. Thank you.
Mr. LeVake?
If I could add some clarification to that as well too. If there was ever a proposal to convert that bottom floor to another like ADU unit, it wouldn't be allowed because the code only allows one attached and one detached ADU unit. In this case, that would be two detached. So it wouldn't be allowed by code to convert that space on the bottom floor area.
So is that consistent with the idea that was proposed of having two separate ADUs?
Correct, yes.
Rather than stacked, a garage,
Right,
something
you couldn't
living on
have
top of a
two
garage?
detached ADUs from the primary
You
dwelling.
could not do
Only
that.
one.
Only one, okay. Other questions? No? Okay, with that, we'll close out the public comment period and move to commissioner discussion. What do y'all think?
I'll start.
Commissioner Lloyd?
Thank you. So I actually live in this neighborhood, so I really appreciate the neighbors that came out to speak tonight, and I'm sensitive to that. In general, I support ADUs, and in general, I support 2 stories as long as privacy is taken into consideration. I think in this design, the way the windows are facing and sized, I think that privacy has been mitigated. As far as creating a nuisance in the neighborhood, it is only 1 bedroom, so I don't feel that it is creating a nuisance. And typically, people who are building 2 stories are investing a significant amount of capital into their real estate, so that I also appreciate, especially considering the current condition of the shed that's in the backyard. So overall, I know it's not necessarily ideal to go up a 2nd story, but at the same time, I understand that we have constraints in terms of where we can go. And in this situation, as far as precedent, I think future cases will all be on a case-by-case basis. So at this point in time, I would likely support the project.
Commissioner Richter?
I echo Commissioner Lloyd's comments. I also live in the neighborhood, and the position of the structure and the lack of windows facing the neighbors is all conducive to other projects I've seen that are 2 stories in the neighborhood or adjacent neighborhoods. So I do think it's an appropriate proposal for the site and the location.
Any other comments? I agree with a lot of what Commissioner Lloyd and Commissioner Richter mentioned. I'll just mention I think it would be a difficult conversion on that 1st floor. You've got 3 garage doors. It seems like not a very conducive space to live in or to convert to living space would be pretty difficult, I would see. But the concept of 2 ADUs, I'd actually rather see a smaller overall footprint, and have it go a little bit higher than to see all of the surface area and area for runoff to infiltrate, to be covered up with concrete. So those are my comments. Any motions?
Oh, sure.
Commissioner Miller?
I will move to approve the applicant with the conditions as specified.
Okay, there's a motion for approval, and I'll just spell it out here for PL 240442. Is there a second?
Second.
And that's seconded by Commissioner Spears. All those in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. And last items we have are commission member announcements. Nothing? All right. City staff announcements.
We have no announcements, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
We have a lack of announcements tonight. Next scheduled meeting is April 8th, 2025. I will see you all there. And with that, we're adjourned. Thank you.